You can't build an abundant life from a nervous system that feels unsafe with money. And by abundance, that encompasses way more than just money. But in this video, we will be talking about how anxiety holds you back from financial abundance. Welcome to video 5 of You plus Anxiety equal BFF, how to stop fighting anxiety and start feeling safe in your own life. I'm Angie, your inner glow coach, and I help women stop letting anxiety run their lives so they can finally stop playing small and wake up to their own power. And like all of my videos, each video in this series has at least one powerful action step. I believe all of the videos so far have had more than one, and this video definitely has more than one. So for our grand finale video, you will be leaving with more than one action step to implement in your day-to-day life, because information is nice, but you can't actually implement changes in your life without massive action. So that's what the action steps are all about. And if you are suffering from anxiety, I want you to know that it is possible to feel good in your life, and you deserve to feel that way. Many successful women have high-functioning money anxiety, and this shows up in ways like making good money but still feeling unsafe, feeling guilty for wanting more, constantly thinking about what if something happens, so having that feeling of needing to hoard it and save it, struggling to relax around money, or thinking that you have to hustle or work hard or earn or deserve money. And the overall way this shows up is, from the outside, it looks like you are successful and you are on paper and checking off all of the boxes, but internally, your nervous system still feels like money isn't safe. And this all stems from a scarcity mindset. And I'm going to do a playlist soon on abundance mindset and scarcity, or what I call broke mindset, because again, these encompass way more than just money, but they obviously affect money, so that's what we're going to be talking about here. So if you're in a scarcity mindset, anxiety trains your brain to be hypervigilant and always looking for threats. So even if you're receiving a stable paycheck, your brain is still scanning for danger. So for example, what if I lose my job? What if something unexpected happens? What if there's an emergency? What if I shouldn't be spending this? And this anxiety keeps your nervous system in survival mode. And there are so many reasons why that's an unhealthy way to live, because it's not good for your physical health, it's not good for your mental and emotional health. But in terms of financial health, survival mode struggles to receive money, because if you don't feel safe having it, you definitely don't feel safe receiving more. And you can't build an abundant life from a nervous system that feels unsafe. And I'm not talking about the occasional anxiety spike, because I get it. Sometimes there's an unexpected expense, and that's just like, we're human beings, we have feelings. There's this whole category of people in the manifestation world, and you've probably heard this, but they're like high vibe all the time because they're afraid if they dip in to the lower vibe emotions that it throws up their whole manifestation trajectory. But we are human beings and we have feelings, and it's actually extremely healthy to feel all of the feelings. The important thing is, so for example, anxiety. Yeah, it doesn't feel good. The important thing about that though is that you don't stay there, because as a functional adult, it's our responsibility to regulate our emotions and process our feelings and feel our feelings. So if you have anxiety about something that's perfectly healthy to have anxiety about, because anxiety is actually a warning system, and sometimes it's a perceived threat and sometimes it's a real threat. But that's just it. As an adult, you have accountability to discern, like, is this real or perceived, and how do I move through this? So there's nothing wrong with having the feelings. you just don't stay there. So what I'm talking about is this chronic state of survival mode, because yes, that does affect your ability to receive money. And I'm not saying you can't receive any money, because I used to live in a chronic state of anxiety, and I absolutely had periods where I would receive money, but the problem was this constant anxiety around it made it unsafe to attract even more. So, if this sounds like you, there are so many reasons why you may feel this anxiety around money, but I guarantee that they stem from your childhood, because any limiting beliefs that we have are usually formed in our childhood. And me personally, any limiting beliefs that I used to have about money were 100% directly related to my parents' limiting beliefs. I had just blindly inherited them and gone along with them. And that's what we all tend to do, right? Because our parents or primary caregivers, whatever adults you spent the most time around as a child or teenager, you hear them talk about money, you hear the things they say or the things they feel around money, and you tend to just adapt their same beliefs and behaviors. And I have an off-menu coaching program on abundance mindset, meaning I don't publicly offer it yet, I'm thinking about it, but I have had several people come to me on money mindset. So I created this abundant mindset program, which again, I may start offering publicly, because both have achieved amazing results. Like, one almost immediately got a new job with an $80,000 a year pay increase, and they're both currently in the program. They haven't finished, and they've both already manifested the coaching fee back, in addition to other things. But my point is, once we dug into their limiting beliefs around money and started to reprogram them, things started moving so quickly. Like, again, the one that got a new job, I think she got that new job like a month and a half after we had that initial conversation. So again, it's directly tied to these limiting beliefs. And again, the reasons are, in childhood, maybe there was financial instability, or maybe your parents were stressed about money, or a lot of times money is tied to performance, meaning you have to earn for it or hustle for it or work really hard. And similar to that, there's also sometimes limiting beliefs around money must be earned through suffering. So you may feel guilty if money comes easily, which when you're in the flow of money, it is effortless. So when it comes easily, you kind of feel guilty because you're like, oh, I didn't suffer, or I didn't earn this, or I didn't hustle for it. Also, there can be, if you have money, there can also be a fear of losing it, which again comes from that scarcity mindset. And in my personal work on my own money limiting beliefs, the top, I would say there were 3 that were the most in the way, where I was in my own way. One was, you have to work hard or hustle to make money. Rich people are sinful. And actually, I think that's tied in with the third one, because my mom would always make comments about rich people being sinful. But what that was really tied to was the scarcity mindset of someone having money takes it away from other people. So she thought it was sinful because they weren't sharing it with other people. So I guess those were basically my main 2 limiting beliefs. And any limiting beliefs that you have inherited from your parents, your nervous system is probably still operating from that blueprint. And we don't have time to get into how to reprogram your limiting beliefs here, because with money, it's a little different. But if you want to go deeper, I can offer you, I'll talk to you at the end about ways that you can work with me, that we can go into your money beliefs. But before we get into our action items, the last few things that I want to mention are, number 1, reframe your anxiety about money as something good, because it is. Again, Your anxiety around money is trying to protect you. So it's really signaling alarm to you to ask yourself, do I feel safe receiving more? Do I trust myself with money? Do I believe that I'm worthy of abundance? And if you have any limiting beliefs around these things, you will not feel safe and your anxiety will keep sounding this alarm. And this is actually good, especially in the beginning, because it's showing you exactly where your identity hasn't caught up to your reality. And number two, a huge part of this work is learning an abundance mindset. And again, I'm gonna make an entire playlist on this, but here are a few simple reframes that you can start doing now. So instead of controlling money or hoarding money or obsessively saving it and checking your bank account, you can shift to this idea of receiving, trusting, and circulating. Because at the end of the day, money is energy. And with energy, you receive, trust, and circulate. And money is the same thing, even though it is something physical that you can hold in your hands. And when I say circulate, abundance isn't about spending recklessly. It's about feeling safe, receiving, holding, trusting, and circulating. Because when you circulate money, you trust that there's more where that came from and more will come around again. It's like if you drink a glass of water, most people, fortunately, are not worried about where the next glass of clean water is coming from, because you know you can just go to your tap or your refrigerator or whatever and get more. So when you have that same trust in money, it changes everything. So let's get into our action steps. Action step number one is practice receiving. And this can be very difficult if you're not used to it. So this can be a small step if you need it to be. Also, I wanted to say, I was going to say this earlier, but I forgot. How you do one thing is how you do everything, which is why I want to do a whole separate playlist on abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset, because yes, it applies to money, but if you have these mindsets with money, you have these mindsets with everything in your life. So if you struggle with receiving money, you're probably also struggling to receive love and other things. So this practice, yes, we're talking about money, but this can be anything in your life. So here are some ideas on how to practice receiving, which again, include more than money. And actually, I'm going to give you examples that are not money related, because money, it may not be something that's taking action every day, especially if you only get paid every other week or maybe only pay your bills a few times a month. So I'm actually going to give you non-monetary examples. So practice receiving, accepting compliments without deflecting or using self-deprecating humor. And this may not seem like a big deal, but when I first started doing this, it was so hard. And when I say deflecting and self-deprecating humor, this is what I mean. Say someone were to come up to me and say like, "Oh, you look nice today." First of all, the only acceptable response is thank you. But what I used to do is be like, "Oh, no, I don't. My hair is dirty, blah, blah, blah." That's deflecting. Self-deprecating humor would be something like, "Oh, yeah, I managed to finally clean up because I usually look like shit," or something. It's like, in some way, you're just putting yourself down even more. So accepting compliments is huge. And for me, this is really hard. So if you are not in the energy of receiving, this is actually a really good place to start. Another good place to start is allow someone to buy you coffee or lunch or whatever. Because again, I used to be the kind of person that if I was having lunch with a friend or something like that and they would offer to pay, I would be like, no, you don't need to do that. I got it. Or, I would somehow argue with them. And now I just accept it and I'm like, thank you so much. And maybe next time I'll offer to pay. But I don't verbally say that out loud at the time. It's just in the moment, accepting that gift from the other person. Another thing you can do is receiving support or help. So I don't know about you, but I still struggle with hyper independence. So I used to never receive support or help. If someone asked me if I needed help, I'd be like, nope, I don't need help. But now when someone asks, I actually consider, do I need help? Would I like them to help me? Also, for extra credit on this one, proactively ask someone for support or help and be open to receive it. What's another one? I want to do something with money. How about just like treat yourself to something? It doesn't have to be extravagant, but maybe like there's like a new pair of shoes that you want, or like a new pair of earrings, or just something that you want to buy for yourself that's not necessarily needed, but something that would make you happy to have. And if you feel guilt, which you may, that's okay. But once you do the work to work through these limiting beliefs, then that feeling of guilt will be drastically reduced. But the whole point of this exercise is learning how to receive, because receiving is a skill that your nervous system has to learn feeling safe doing. And then actions 2, circulate money intentionally. So instead of fear-based spending or hoarding, practice conscious circulation. So what this looks like is investing in yourself. So for example, there's a huge difference between going to the Gucci store and buying a designer handbag and hiring a coach or taking a course or doing something to build a better version of yourself. And that was like a more high ticket example, but it could also look like supporting a local business that you love. Maybe there's a bakery or coffee shop or whatever. Small business owners love support. So just something as simple as buying a coffee from the local coffee shop is circulating money. And also in that example, because I mentioned earlier, money is energy, and doing things like supporting a local business kind of gets you in that mindset. Whereas if like you go to Starbucks or some like bigger institution, it feels more like a transaction. But when you're like truly supporting someone and their mission, then you can feel the energy behind the simple monetary transaction. What is another one? I mean, it's simply choosing experiences that bring you joy. So like even if you're low on cash, I mean, you could do something no cash, like go in nature, but it could also just be something that, because there's so many things that don't cost a lot of money, but can bring so much joy. So this is on you to be creative. I just gave you a few examples, or even tipping generously. If someone gave you really good service, give them a little bit of an extra tip, because I think tipping culture has gotten lost in translation, because the entire purpose of the tip is like, if they give you good service, they should be compensated for it. So show appreciation. It's been a long time since I worked in food service, but I always remember like how good it felt to get a huge tip, especially if I was working really hard for it. And again, even if you're low on cash, none of this has to be, extravagant. Because investing in yourself, yeah, that could mean thousands of dollars, but it could also mean, like for instance, with personal development, you could easily spend thousands of dollars on a coach. But there's this platform I really like called, I think it's pronounced Udemy. It has a ton of cheap courses and they're pretty good quality, and you can learn about almost anything. And obviously YouTube is free. So, and also one last thing, you can even do this when you're paying your electric or internet bill. Because, like, for example, I'm using my internet right now, I'm using my electricity. So I have gratitude for these services. So when I pay these bills, I'm actually paying them with gratitude that they're providing me with a service. And that's what the energetic exchange of money looks like. And that's what it looks like to circulate money. Because if you're putting money out with that energy, you will receive it with the same energy. But anyway, I think that's it. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. But I do want to share, so if you have watched this series and you have been realizing that anxiety has been running your life, including your relationship with money, this is exactly the work I do inside my signature glow sessions. We go through G of my glow method, which is go back to your childhood, and we identify the core limiting belief that all of your limiting beliefs are based on. And we identify all of the patterns that are driving your anxiety so that you can shift them, because anything else is basically just a Band-Aid solution. So we go right to the root to identify your one limiting belief. And even if we don't continue working together after that session, that information is so valuable, especially even if you just want to dig into your money beliefs. Trust me, you will make some big shifts just from that one call. And if you're not sure if you're ready for that step, and if you are, I'll put the link in the description, but if you're not ready for the call, then I invite you to check out my 80% Life Detector, which is a free workbook, and it's a self-check to see exactly where you're holding back and not being fully expressed in your life. And one of the categories is money. And there's also a powerful exercise at the end of that to show you how to make a shift into your new identity, which would include your money mindset. So thank you, and I'll also put that link in the description. And again, that's a free workbook. So thank you so much for joining me on this series. The real glow up happens when you finally feel safe to receive everything you deserve. And I will see you in the next series, which is about creating your own rules for life instead of blindly following society's arbitrary rules for life. So I will see you in the next series.